All right,
Let's do it. So hello, hospitality heroes, and welcome to this free weekly coaching session that we're running on surviving and thriving in this COVID-19 time. If you've only just joined us, welcome. You've joined a group of supportive and proactive hospitality business owners that are working together to sort of innovate within this hospitality business space and survive this industry lockdown and thrive post-COVID-19. So if you haven't already registered to receive the recordings and get the invites to our weekly sessions, do jump on to www.avtest.com.au and register there. And you should also go and join our Facebook group, which is for hospitality business owners. You'll find the link on the website as well. As always, if you have any questions, please put them down below wherever you're watching this, and we will try and get back to them. And if you're watching this as a recording, make sure that you put down your questions as well. So today we have a special guest joining us, Kim Teo, CEO of Mr. Yum. So we're very lucky to have Kim join us. She's very busy at the moment, running her business and assisting lots of new clients to implement online ordering, which is really important at this time, as well as being out there supporting and advocating for the hospitality industry on social media and in the press. So thank you, Kim. So Kim's a true entrepreneur at heart. I first met Kim back in, I think it was 2013 or 14, when we were at a startup event working on our respective business ideas. And she loves that excitement that creating businesses creates. And she also understands that lack of distinction between work and life, and that balance that all of us business owners have, especially those in hospitality, know. So one of the things that we have in common is that we look for opportunities, whatever the situation, and we love being able to pivot quickly. And I think this is a skill that will really set hospitality businesses on the path to future success at the moment. So I want to explore that a little bit more. So Kim, your business, her business, Mr. Yum, is a web-based platform for digital menus and online ordering and payments for pubs, cafes, bars and restaurants across Australia and Southeast Asia. Kim, can you tell us, I guess, a bit about Mr. Yum? I guess one of the things I really love is that you only charge that really low percentage per order, which really helps hospitality businesses take control, of the takeaway and delivery.
Sure. Yeah, I think the fees are 4.5%. I'm really proud to be able to say that widely as well. Like we try not to do heaps of different deals all over the shop, charge people different amounts, prices, so that we can like very publicly say it's 4.5%. Mr. Yum started as a visual menu. We did then table ordering in a restaurant, in a pub, in a cafe, which, on the 23rd of March, just like everyone else, our revenue went to zero. And we kind of sat around, and we actually knew probably a week before, I think just like everyone else did, that it was coming, and pick up the phone and chat to some of your best customers and try and figure out what does a new, what does a transition phase look like what does lockdown look like? What does transitioning out of lockdown look like? Not thinking too far ahead, but trying to figure out like what can we do for now? And that's why we launched our pickup and delivery offering. Not that we ever really wanted to be in pickup or delivery, like that was never. That was if you look at our plans, like 12 months ago, they weren't even on the plan. But you're lucky as a startup, right? You've got a small team. We have, I was just saying to you before, we've got 14 people. You're agile. You've got tech that's new. You don't have a heap of legacy. Like you can actually pivot and transition quite quickly. And you do what you have to do to like help your customers, right? At the end of the day, if they were doing, if they're doing ordering in the venue, they would expect that you would be able to transition that into ordering from home. Like, why not?
So that's what they need at the time.
That's what they need. And I don't think we even spent like 3 seconds thinking about whether we would do it. We were straight away thinking like, how could we do it?
How can we do it?
Like we're doing this, so how can we do it? And what can we get out first, as quickly as possible, and then build on it later on. And we were really lucky. We got the first version of pickup and delivery out the door on the 25th, which is only like 2 days after.
Yeah, that's amazing. You must have a fantastic team that works very hard. And
Yeah,
they all work towards
so
the same
good.
goal. It's really nice.
Yeah, actually, like the week of you know, all of that happening was probably the week that the team felt like the closest. You know, I think that's like a wartime mentality. That's
yeah, totally. Yeah.
When shit's hitting the fan, your teams get closer.
Yeah. And I think a lot of hospitality businesses have that same, you know, they're all sort of working together. And at the moment, it's a bit more difficult because they're not together. But, you know, and we found the same, the team really binds together and they're happy to do whatever it takes to sort of keep things going.
Yeah. So no different to lots of businesses that underwent a ton of change.
Yeah.
And now, and I guess we just did pick up and delivery because we had no idea, like we just, that's what we had to do. But as we got deeper and deeper into it, we realized that we learned a lot more about the existing delivery models. We learned a lot more about how unsustainable, you know, paying like all of the 30 to 35% commissions are. We very quickly got compared a lot to like Uber Eats and Deliveroo, even though they're not like exactly comparable solutions.
Yes. Can we talk about that? I did, because I in one of my last sessions, I think there's a lot of people obviously turning to online ordering in the moment, and it's really important. I tell people that there's people that are just doing ring up. I think it's a bit like you said, people are like, hospitality businesses are the same. They're like, okay, we can't do dining anymore, but we can do takeaway or delivery. What can we do and how can we do it as quickly as possible? So they put up their menu and they've got their phone number there, and that's a fantastic thing to do straight away. People can call in. But I think now that they've had a few weeks, there's a couple of things they need to look at, which is that designing a menu for takeaway or delivery, and also, you know, there's a number of people that don't want to or won't use the phone, that they would prefer online ordering. And there's a number of reasons for that. But in the session I ran, I talked about the difference between, you know, there's app web-based, there's white label, or there's, you know, branded aggregators. There's a lot of different, and there's people that do the delivery for you, or there's places where you do, you know, the delivery yourself. So do you want to talk us through the difference between Mr. Yum and some of the others out there?
Yeah, sure. To the point around phone calls, we definitely had restaurants that were doing phone calls before. Like I went and saw the Smith and Daughters, and they were like, before we had Mr. Yum, like you couldn't get off the phone fast enough and the next call would come in.
Yeah.
And you'd be sitting there wondering like, how many calls did I miss in the time that I was on the phone with someone else?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And you're actually quite rude because you're trying to hurry this person up.
Because you know there's more people calling. Yeah. So you can't control that customer experience to that level that you'd want to.
Yeah. As well, like some people are quite uncomfortable giving you their credit card over the phone.
Yep.
That's not as much of a thing anymore. So
yes, because like, you obviously have to write it down. Or
they're like, can I pay on delivery? And the restaurant's like, no, you can't pay on delivery.
No. Well, that creates a whole nother doesn't it requirement for having mobile EFTPOS machines or Square payments on the phone or all that type of crap.
Yeah. So we can get a restaurant up in 48 hours to do takeaway, completely self-managed. And so they manage their menus, they manage their orders. And some of them, like, we do a 15-minute call with, others literally just like figure it out and go live, and we don't even realize that they do. So the product's easy to use.
So it depends on their sort of tech like experience or their, you know, capability, that sort of thing. Yeah. And would it be as easy as like setting up email or social media, something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's I would say it's easier than setting up a proper, like a email with your domain on the end. Like some people have Gmail emails still, you know, and haven't got the proper domain. I feel like it's almost a bit more intuitive than that. But it doesn't need to be complex, so we just tried to keep it simple.
And so web-based, can you just explain web-based what it means to be web-based as opposed to an app, and how that works with their existing website? whether they
Yeah.
need it or not.
Yeah, sure. Web-based versus app, just very, very straightforward. People to use it don't need to download an app from the App Store. So if you go and search Mr. Yum in the App Store, you'll find nothing.
Yeah.
We exist on a URL that's mryum.com/the venue name. And each venue has its own unique URL that they can promote on Instagram, on Facebook, on social, on their Google business listing, on their website. So actually they drive all of their traffic to their online menu and online store.
And in terms of, go ahead.
Yeah, the other big difference is actually on the consumer side. So it's actually really hard to drive traffic from your website to an app, because you have to tell people to download an app, and they don't want to download an app just to see the menu. So the venue experience is much more fluid if you can transition from a website to a website, right?
So there's less traction there. It's easier for people to just...
There's less friction. And from a customer point of view, we don't have any account creation. There's no passwords. There's no friction to ordering on Mr. Yum. It really is as simple as you click, you add to cart, you check out, you put your name, phone number, because everything is SMS. So we don't do push notifications. It's all web and SMS based.
That's controlled by the venue. They do that. They push the notifications out for when the order's ready and stuff like that.
So they receive the order. It sends the customer an automated SMS with a tax invoice link, and the orders show up on their live orders screen. And they can, from the live order screen, notify the customer that it will be ready in 5, 10, 15, this comes like shortcut kind of minutes. And that just fires off an SMS to the customer saying, hey, your order's ready, or it'll be ready in 10 minutes. All really, and you can do that on your phone, because it's web-based as well. Even the management portal is web. Which means
you can still use your phone even though it's not app-based.
Definitely. People save it to their home screen. And as well, we text the venue a SMS every time they get an order, so they have like a shortcut URL that takes them to their live order screen, so they never miss an order, which is important for customer experience. And I know it's around friction, right? It's like reducing the friction to ordering.
And one of the other things I like is, you talk about when I talk about the difference between an aggregator and white labeling, there's different pluses and minuses there. Obviously, if you have a big audience and a big, you're really good at marketing to your existing customers, having a white label, is going to be the best option for you where it's your own. And so with Mr. Yum, you get that. You send people directly to your ordering. There's no sort of recommendations or links to other competitors when you're there. But also there's Mr. Yum is an aggregator on its own website. So if people go with the Mr. Yum brand first, they can still get a listing for, a relevant listing with a target market there. So you sort of get the best of both worlds with that.
We kind of sit between the two. We straddle both worlds a little bit. We're certainly not white labeled in that we want to provide the customer with a really consistent experience. Like Facebook absolutely smashed MySpace when they first started, because they were like, this is your profile, this is where your name goes, this is where your description goes. Whereas MySpace was like, you can make a fucking galaxy if you want, you can make it sing whatever song you want, and you can like put whatever stars you want, and the whole thing just looked like different everywhere. So consistency of customer experience is actually familiarity of a consumer experience is more valuable than like what people realize. And that's the reason we've stuck to having the consistent web experience around the Mr. Yum product.
The other thing is, I mean, I don't know about most people, but I would trust someone who's has a tech team and who has experience in developing and done user experience testing to, design the layout of how my menu and how the cart should look, rather than me going, I wonder where I should put this.
That's a good point. There's we have a lot of data points, and and obviously millions of dollars to the platform to give us feedback on what people are comfortable with, what they're not
Yeah.
comfortable with, what they can find, what they can't find. But on the other hand, we don't hold on to that customer data. So, it's not a white labeled experience per se, but the customer experience, the customer is that customer is yours.
Yeah.
And we're really big on brands transitioning towards becoming, so venues were transitioning to become brands. Like, I really believe that a storefront is no longer just a storefront in brick and mortar, right? Like, you've got to now you're online.
Yep.
We've been saying like brick and mobile instead of brick and mortar. Like,
Cool.
you've got to try and like be more than just a storefront.
Well, it's you're going to be missing out on customers if you're there, because that's not where everyone is anymore. People are online, so if you're not there, you're going to be missing out.
And you can rely on the aggregators for marketing. Like, would you pay 30% to have a completely new customer order from your store on Uber Eats? Maybe you would.
Maybe,
but if that customer orders again, then you've done yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
So that customer needs to come through your own online store, and you need to build a relationship with that customer. Otherwise, you've paid Uber Eats again for a marketing service that they didn't actually
they've done
provide.
once. Yeah. I agree. So I think it's really important to own your own customers when you get them.
Yeah. So I guess that's the reason. Like, we don't want to be like the hero brand in all of this. Like, we really are the venue and the brand themselves are the hero. But at the same time, we understand technology and that customers want consistency. So it's a bit of a straddle between the two worlds.
And so how would you, is Mr. Yum right for everyone? How do you, I guess, advise people when they're looking at online ordering? How to choose what's the best online solution for them?
Yeah, there isn't it's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked, because we try to be really upfront with venues that we don't think it's going to succeed for, because they're putting work into it, we're putting work into it. At the end of the day, they're probably going to be disappointed. And we don't have a churn problem. Like, we don't have people leaving Mr. Yum. So I think you have to be protective of your...
Having that customer retention is really important.
Yeah. So it's not based on a revenue number. It's honestly not based on what kind of store. Like, you could be, we do like Holy Moly, which is like a little mini golf thing, all the way to cafes and pubs and high end, right? So
so it doesn't matter what type of venue you are.
It's actually not about that. It's about your readiness to own the marketing. Like, if you're expecting us to do the marketing, we won't work with them, because the expectation of an aggregator is not what we want to be accountable for, and very clear that we're not an aggregator. Otherwise, we would have to charge a lot more.
Of course.
The fees are aligned with the marketing dollars that you have to spend on consumers, and the service and the customer service that you have to provide. As well. But it doesn't matter the kind of restaurant or cafe or venue. It doesn't matter the revenue turnover. It really is about, do you have some kind of loyal following? And it could be like we've got this one guy doing like Greek donuts in Point Cook, and all he does is service like one suburb in Point Cook, and not even the postcode, like just literally like one suburb. And he does like $1,000 on Friday night just on like $10 set of like 10 donuts. And
that's all he needs to do. That's all he's interested in doing.
He might do like $3,000 a week. And $1,000 on Friday night, and people book ahead, and they they keep reordering as well. And I would have never picked that to be a successful Mr. Yum a venue, but like, who knows, so I think it's about like, what's the hustle? Are you willing to be that entrepreneur, to go out there and find your own customer, to be texting everyone the URL to your store? And if you are, then like, we are so ready to support that and to help you and to help you gain control over your customer base,
so
as
it works
opposed to giving it up.
Yeah, cool. So it works really well if you either have these things or you want to do, and you're action, you're ready to take action to grow a list, whether that's by email or text or messenger, or social media. So they're like probably the two things. If you're interested in growing your own market and being able to access them digitally, a platform like that would really, like Mr. Young, would really work well.
Yeah, and I think like if you haven't done that in the past, I think most people have realized now that they should have done that.
Yeah.
Like, coronavirus came and suddenly the foot traffic was gone.
Yeah.
And your digital audience and your lists and even people have lists, but they don't communicate to that list.
Yeah.
So that list is completely cold, right? It's called like a cold audience.
Yeah.
If you don't have a marketing strategy, an email campaign, if you're not working with, a hospitality oriented like marketing platform, you really should, because now is the perfect time to start building that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too late.
It's not too late.
No, there's people everywhere looking, and there's another great thing at the moment. Nice. People are so supportive at the moment for hospitality, especially locally. They're sharing things. They're spending money where they, ordinarily maybe wouldn't. It's a really great time to be building an audience.
And they're choosing to buy like bacon from their local cafe as opposed to buying bacon from Coles.
Yeah.
And it might be 30-40% more expensive at their cafe than at Coles, but they are doing it to support their local restaurant. So I think now is the perfect time, and we can help you acquire the customer data when they order.
Yeah,
fantastic. But there are some really good platforms out there that can help you, keep that customer audience warm as they come in. Like there's no point having the emails and then just sitting there, and like in 6 months they're not going to remember who you are.
No, exactly. It's really great actually that you mentioned that, because there's that one of the programs that I run is called the Hospitality Marketing Project, and it's all about building an audience and building a funnel and using all those sort of organic strategies. And I agree, it's not too late to start. It's a good time,
and it's an exciting part of the retail. Like retail went through this transformation at the GFC. They were brick and mortar, and JB Hi-Fi has cranked online, like the retailers that went online are killing it today. Yeah, absolutely killing it today. And I think right now it's like the hospitality GFC.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to describe it.
Yeah. And if you do go online and you manage to succeed at online, you will have found a whole new part of your business that you didn't have before. Like we work with so Moondog as an example, the brewery. Yeah, and we they're doing their burgers and pizzas and stuff like what they would normally do, but they're also selling beer and noticing that, and they're pumping out new beer like every fortnight. To keep people interested. They're about to start like a beer club subscription model.
Subscription
where you tune in to like an Instagram live and you learn about the beer, and then you've also got the beer arriving in your home. And like they after 6 months of this, like they would have built a whole new online subscription and online ordering
whole new business model. And it's a really great time to be doing it, because it's really easy to get traffic at the moment. It's really easy to get people, it's really cheap if you're spending money
and I think that stuff will live on. One thing we've noticed as well, we've been ordering a fair bit of cook at home stuff. And like pizza, they don't deliver that well. Like it is so much better to put a pizza in the oven and it's been frozen down and it's like perfectly hot and crispy when it comes out.
Well, let's talk about that before we go into the future. Let us know how people are changing their menus and what things are selling, and because having a dine-in menu where you've got $35 steaks or whatever, it's probably not going to sell so well takeaway.
I think you really need to focus on, like, there's a few categories that are doing well. Like, of course, takeaway that travels well is still doing pretty well.
And what would you put in that category, the takeaway that travels well?
Well, actually, we did a pretty big Mother's Day campaign with Chiswick in Sydney, and they sold, like, I don't want to say the number, but it was they couldn't, like, they were like, it broke the kitchen, you know, like just how many orders they did on Sunday broke the kitchen. And that was all like lamb shanks and roast chicken, and so they really assembled a menu that travels well, and if you reheated it at home it would still be pretty good.
So those the roasts and that sort of slow cook work well.
But also like Asian food travels pretty well if you can reheat something. I think it's a good place. Otherwise, otherwise you need to think about really small delivery kilometers to do burgers and gyros and that sort of stuff if you need it to be fresh when it gets there.
Well, there's one I know that a lot of pubs, I don't know if you found the same thing, but some of the pubs I work with here locally, they still sell, like Palmer's is still their biggest seller. Same as it was in store. People miss those Palmer's out of the fryer.
Nostalgic, right?
But that's probably a small radius type dish.
I think and then what we've seen that's actually super exciting is like the rise of a cook at home category. And you know, we bought dumplings from Oriental Tea House the other day and made them at home, and dumplings do not travel well at all. Like by the time they get to you, the fried dumplings are like mushy. And they're all stuck together. It's just feral. But when you cook them at home, they are awesome. And
perfect. So how did they come? Like what level of assembly was okay, cool. So they were all you didn't have to make the dumpling and do all that hard bit. It was just had to put them in the oven or put them in the fryer.
They have a make your own version, but I didn't go with that.
Fair enough. You're a busy girl.
I was like, look, that seems like entertainment for a 10-year-old.
Well, that is a good point. You know, like make your own pizzas, make your own dumplings. That's you know, that takes up when you're at home with your kids, man. It is good having activities like that get the kids busy for half an hour.
And it's so clever that they've done that because that's like an activity plus food.
There's a place just near us that does make your own unicorn shakes. So they have like those crazy big shakes, and so you get all these little bags of little lollies and stuff and like flags that you put all into the glass together. Cute.
That's so good. I love that. Yeah, there's lots of like really cool innovative stuff that's coming up, and I do think that the cook at home stuff will last because I will never buy dumplings like
delivery again.
Hot again, like compared to buying frozen dumplings. It takes you 10 minutes to make, and it's like perfect when you cook them yourself. So and they're so easy to make, like it was barely cooking.
Yeah, exactly. It's heating really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. And have you noticed anyone doing like really cool things with the two? I haven't done a session on this yet, but I'm really interested in how people are adding to the, not just the purchase experience and the delivery experience, but the experience of consuming at home, you know, like including either it's like a playlist, like for a Spotify playlist, or, you know, a candle or something to add to that experience at home. Have you not seen anyone doing anything cool like that?
I haven't seen anything in the form of music, even though I think that's quite interesting as a fine dining like concept. Like what would Boudemont at home look like? It probably would be like some sound experiences and I think though, like fine dining is a category that has definitely struggled a little bit on home delivery because so much of it is about the environment. But the fine dining brands that adapt their menus to be more like family style, they're crushing it. So it's not like if you're a fine dining brand, you can't succeed online. You just need to adapt your menu to something that families will get around, not just you and your partner on an anniversary date.
There's only so many of those.
Moondog do like a Wednesday bingo.
Awesome.
They do like an Instagram live 7:30 Wednesdays. They do like a Wednesday bingo thing. So I think like there's some bringing the pub to home.
There's a great wine shop in Port Melbourne, Vino something, I forget, I should know, and they do their tastings, live tastings on a Thursday or Friday evening, and they're so they send out, and now they send out they're doing all the whiskies. So what they, you know, they're dividing up these beautiful whiskies into sort of single shots and send you out, I don't know, 5 or 6 so that you can, you know, and then you taste them all together online and talk about them, and people are in the comments. Like it's really nice. It's a still community and bringing that bar or that pub atmosphere, you know,
Totally.
to home. It's really good.
Sure.
Yeah, so getting back to that about the future, you think that takeaway and delivery, you know, are here to stay? That fear, you know, around it being out in public and stuff, that has eased noticeably, and things are, I guess, starting to shift a little with recent announcements. But that's not going to be, you know, things aren't going to go back to normal in the blink of an eye. Or is there a new kind of normal, do you think?
I think there is. I think undoubtedly in hospitality there will be, you know, across the board. In other categories, maybe not as much.
Yeah.
But I think hospitality has had a pretty good, like a pretty big shake-up.
Yeah. What did you call it? The GFC for hospitality. That's a really cool analogy. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think also, but like there's silver lining in a lot of this. Restaurants who have never been online before, have like discovered this e-commerce thing that transformed retail and now is transforming the hospitality industry.
And possibly when they thought, you know, oh, we wouldn't do takeaway or delivery, or that's not our market.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why not? If it's done well and if you can make money doing it,
why not add that?
Why not add that? So I guess my take on it is, I think that the hardest parts of hospitality, of all of this, is really when JobKeeper stops and restrictions are still in place. Having, you know, 1.5 meter rules, or like, as you know, the step 3 in the plan is still 4.5 square meters. 4 square meters per person. And at those regulations, it actually is like 25 to 30% capacity. It's not. It's not at all close to normal. Like, it is a third of what you would normally have. So to supplement that income, if you've got a kitchen running, like, you're going to need to do some kind of takeaway, pickup, or delivery. And if you're not trying to figure out how to get off platforms like Uber Eats, it's never going to become a sustainable part of your business that can actually prop up the lack of dine-in. So I guess I really urge restaurants to try to figure it out on their own. Use platforms like Mr. Yum, who can help. But
there's a lot of people that can provide free advice. There's some great you know, Facebook groups and stuff like that where people share advice, and you know, people are very generous with advice at the moment, and support as well.
I will say one thing though. I think the delivery business model of Uber Eats and Deliveroo has and will change forever. I really think it's been a big highlight of the last 8 weeks that the model is unsustainable. There are people like trying to get them to reduce their fees, and I know they've reduced their fees a tiny bit, but to be honest, like, they can't reduce their fees to 0.
Well, they can't, and because they have to pay the driver as well, you know, like that's
like, and Uber Eats, as like a side note to Deliveroo, their whole ride sharing business has collapsed because there's no one riding anymore. And that's not a Australia problem, that's a global problem. So if you think about their revenue, it's completely tanked, and they're letting go like 15-20% of people at the moment across the world. So I think those businesses, unfortunately, it's been highlighted that they're neither good for the restaurant nor good for themselves. And when you've got a platform that,
you know, there's people, if there's a job there, then why not employ somebody locally to do that?
And I think as well, like, what we really want to help nurture in the industry is not doing the same thing as Uber Eats and Deliveroo. You have to do it different if you're looking for a different outcome. That's like an Einstein saying, right? Like, do the same thing multiple times, expect a different outcome. It's like the definition of insanity or something like that. So the things that we want to do different, and the things that I encourage hospitality to think about, is the average, to get the percentage of delivery costs down to 15% is where what we've got our eye on. If we can't build a model where you're doing delivery for 15%, we just
then it's not going to be sustainable. Yeah.
What's the point? You're just another Uber Eats, another Deliveroo, cut a different cloth.
Yeah.
Like cut a different way, but you're the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about finding a 15% model. Otherwise you will see Misty completely pull out of delivery. And a 15% model is on the basis of a few things. Like one, it's actually increasing your average order value.
Yep. Per customer. Yep.
And the average order value on Misty for delivery is $65.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on Uber Eats, it's $34.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah. So, and you can do that by setting your own store up with minimum order values, a delivery fee, and then like
if it's under a certain amount. Yep.
Yeah. So we also do, at a certain amount, target amount, the delivery is free, and we encourage customers by saying, you've got $15 to go to get free delivery.
Yeah.
And
I'll get another dessert, or I'll get an extra dish to put in the fridge for tomorrow, or that type of thing.
And that's the clever thing actually. How do you sell a meal for tomorrow?
Yeah.
If you're selling to a couple, they're not going to need like $80 worth of takeaway, but if they're ordering $80 for over 3 meals, then you've won.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of, it's actually that's not super difficult to do. Just try and using the right I guess variables, trying to increase the average order value to a point where delivery is sustainable.
Yeah, and structuring your menu right so that you can cover off on all the things that people want to buy.
Give them something to buy. Like give them something to buy. Like with the Oriental Tea House thing, it was $100 to do free delivery. And I was like, oh, okay, well, fine, I'll buy $100 worth of food. And I end up buying this like teapot thing that maybe I'll use it. But I'm like, oh, well, I don't really need more.
I save like 10 months on it because I don't have to pay for delivery.
Exactly. And I was like,
you got something for a gift if you have, next time someone's birthday.
Yeah, exactly. My mum gave me all this tea and I feel really bad. I can't use it because I don't actually have like a proper teapot. So I was like, I'll just get a teapot and maybe I'll use the tea.
Well, and so that, it doesn't always have to be food either. You would say it's beverage, but it's also other things,
Sell
cookware or merchandise or
sell
grocery
eggs,
items.
Sell milk, whatever. Like sell something that someone else,
like Macca's is doing that. McDonald's is selling milk and eggs now. And if they're doing it, then it's like, it's financially it's smart because,
Well, we often talk about how McDonald's did. Well, McDonald's are like, their burgers aside, they are an amazing operation. Like, really an incredibly forward-thinking food and bev operation. And they put in those kiosks. Yeah. Like 2 years ago because they make more money from those kiosks. Like people on Mr. Yum, people
and they're a pain in the ass. I hate using the kiosks, but it's quicker too because otherwise you have to wait in line. There's only one person there. Yeah, and the average order size on digital ordering software is much higher than like ordering through a staff member. And you always do the add-ons.
Yeah, we can sell
the little upsells.
The little Mr. Robot can upsell better than like more consistently, not necessarily better, but more consistently all the time than a staff member can. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So that's really cool. A big part of the table ordering value proposition is around increasing the average order value by, I think, 20 to 45% is where
depending on where you're at. That's a big amount, but doable.
It makes the product basically free, right? If you charge 4.5% and each order through Mr. Yum is 20 to 45% higher than not on Mr. Yum, then you've done a 5 times return on investment without taking into account the data that you capture, the customer journey that you now understand, and the customer that you own now. Yeah, and like the convenience factor that you've provided your customer. So
well, they want
yeah,
exactly. I would say if you know, if you have any customers that are under 45, then you probably should look at online ordering, because that's would be their preference.
yeah. I mean, I think I've seen like I've seen people over 45
Use it,
use
yeah,
it
for
too,
sure,
and
yeah.
they
But I
do,
just
they
mean
do.
there's a preference for online there. Like, rather, I would like, I hate having to, you know, like whenever we have to ring up for fish and chips, we're always like, oh, it's your turn to ring up. Like,
there's an aversion to
yeah,
calling.
yeah,
Yeah, for
there
sure.
is.
Like, it's because we are a text messaging and
Yeah, we're an
you
email
know,
text message generation, exactly.
yeah, like we're not a pick up the phone and give someone a call generation.
Yeah. Too many variables. So in terms of the future, you spoke a little bit then about, so when restrictions are lifted and dining's happening again, and that's what we're looking at moving towards, even in a limited fashion, like what do you think that'll look like? I know Mr. Yum's working on some new sort of features in that area.
Yeah, look, it's not,
Well, stuff you already did
yeah,
as well, I guess.
yeah, we were always, our core business is still table ordering. We want to be, you know, 360. We want to be able to provide you with a table ordering solution that also has a pickup and delivery all in the one URL, right? So it's like all in one ordering rather than having multiple platforms for different things.
Yeah.
So
that's really beneficial, I think, for people not having to have so many, you know, a different app or a different platform to manage for all this. It's, you know, it makes.
Yeah, I think there's probably two things that will impact the dine-in experience, or the new normal dine-in experience, the most. One is the consumer sentiment around like touching communal menus. Yeah, like we've had 2 months of not going outside. Like we're suddenly like inbuilt fear around like walking too close to someone else. Like
now when you stop near someone, you stand back.
It's really like, it's so crazy how quickly we've almost created this like bubble around ourselves. Like I went to the bank the other day and I went to like pick up a pen in one of those like pen things, and I was like, do I do this? Like I was like, I don't have any hand sanitizer.
Yes, it's no sanitizer. What do I do?
and like I'm so not that kind of person, but I caught myself out thinking about it, and even just me thinking about it was like, holy shit, people are really going to think about what they pick up and put down from now on. And
which
so
I think it's probably good at the moment, especially that people are doing that.
Yeah, like coronavirus isn't a nice thing to have. So
no. And it's not going, and it's not going to go away. So you know,
people will get it until we have a vaccine. So I think especially if you're living with older people, you're going to be incredibly conscious of where you go, what you touch, and who you're with. And so I think that's one part of it. You know, what's the consumer sentiment? How do you make your customers feel safe in your restaurant? What do you need to do? I think the digital menu is like a really good option, because people just do it on their phone and then they don't have to touch anything, and you don't have to clean your laminated menus, and you don't have to do disposable menus, which is like, you know, actually terrible for the environment. Like all of this stuff is terrible for the environment. Like I used to use a kid cup every day, and now I'm like takeaway coffees every day in takeaway cups, which I haven't done in such a long time. Right? So I think the disposable menu option is, you know, it's like shitty A4 paper that you're printing, but also it's not
hard
great
to
for the
create
environment
that branding experience.
No,
and so you know, but people can always have, I guess, both options. So have that sign up that people can order on their phone or using whatever, but then
you can still have a laminated menu behind the counter for customers who come in that don't look like they want to use their phone. So that's one thing. Like, how do you keep your customers feeling like they're in a safe space, and your staff? Your staff are equally as important around making them feel safe to come to work.
Well, you know, in hospitality, they control the customer experience, don't they? So if you don't have a good team, it's really hard to have a good business in hospitality.
Oh, super hard. I think that's any business, really. And then secondary to that, there's going to be like a lot fewer people in a bigger space. And if you have a small restaurant, it's not maybe as much of a challenge as if you have like a really big venue. So you're going to have a lot of people spread out like really far in a very big venue with far less staff to manage like a huge, imagine like a beer garden or something, or like a multi-story.
A multi-level, place with multiple spaces.
Yeah. And you can't have people coming up to the bar because that's not allowed. So there's no bar service. There's no payment at the counter.
Yeah.
So you can't have people.
So you have the payment within the platform, so that you don't have to be chasing that. Works really well. And also, I guess you have that the inbuilt salesperson within the app within Mr. Yum. So that helps. That's nice.
So, I think it's really suitable for like, venues that used to have bar service, used to have counter service. And then also like a lot of restaurants are talking to us about it because they are genuinely worried about making the numbers work on the previous levels of staff that they had.
Yeah.
And the fewer customers that they're going to be allowed to have. So to balance that out, like how do you keep your staffing at a level that you can actually survive? And, helping using a platform that can help you take an order and take payment without
someone having to do
interaction is good. It doesn't mean, and that is so far from having no interaction. Like you still need to welcome the customer, you still need to sit them down, you still need to bring them water, bring them their drinks. Like there's still like so many touch points. Like
I'm really excited for the front of house training we do, because I think there's going to be heaps of opportunity out there for people to really up their service game, that face-to-face service with table service, and having technology to be able to add to that. Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be really good. You'll see a lot of experiences really, rather than ordering at the bar, it'd be great to have some more interaction with wait staff. Really good.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a change. And then I think a lot of restaurants, once they start doing these types of, start using new systems and new tools, I do think that if it's working for them, it's probably going to stay.
Yeah.
Like why would you
change something? Yeah, why would you
if
change
it's
something?
working?
Yeah.
And it might not work for everyone, I don't think it's like
no,
it's
universally.
Not proven, right? It's not maybe universal. Like if you've got this small little boutique venue with 15, 20 tables or something, like maybe you don't need a table ordering solution because it's such a small area, and like to flag down someone isn't super hard.
Yeah. Or maybe if you do like, mostly senior citizens during the, lunches, that sort of thing. Probably not. You're not going to use that as much.
Exactly. So I think if you want to give it a go, now is the perfect time because customers are like willing to try anything.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's a bit all over the place. There's everyone trying, everyone is really patient around new systems and new technology that different venues are using. They're not writing reviews saying, oh, you don't know how to use yet, or the menu's not the same, or the menu was wrong and I couldn't get that. Like people are being quite generous.
Definitely. Yeah. And if you've ever wanted to try something new at reopening, like just go like, this is a new way that we're doing something. Like it's a perfect time to give something a crack.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah. So
and people have a bit more time, hopefully, to come up with some ideas and stuff. Although I know business owners are, they're sort of doing everything at the moment. But
they are.
It's an exciting time. And hopefully, some people will thrive through this situation.
I think some people always thrive, and the ones that adapt and stay nimble, try lots of new things and see what sticks. Like if it doesn't work, who cares? Just put it in the bin. Like we've done things that haven't worked and we're like, oh well, we gave that a crack, it didn't work, let's just not do that anymore.
We won't do that again.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
And also, I guess in that same vein, if you've tried something before and it didn't work, it doesn't mean that it won't ever work, is the other thing. Like maybe if you have tried something online and it hasn't worked, doesn't mean that that's like you cut that off for good, So
definitely
it's worth trying new things all the time, for sure, I reckon.
For sure.
Cool. All right. Well, I reckon you would probably got a million things to do. So I want to say a big thank you, Kim, for joining me today. And I hope, I really appreciate it. It's been great finding out what you guys are doing, but also, your thoughts on the industry as well. I know you're speaking to a lot of businesses, so you have a lot of knowledge about what's going on out there, and I think that's really valuable for everyone. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much.